Have you ever wanted to make an anime series of your own, but you have no idea where to even begin? If that is the case, then this is just the video for you. This video is going to be an overview of the entire process of how to make an anime series by yourself. And just in case any of you who are watching don't think it is possible to make an anime series alone, then welcome to Pulp Anime. Hi! I'm your host Blue, and I am currently making an anime series by myself. So if you still haven't watched my show Carmilla, then click the link in the description and give it a watch. And now after you watched it, we can begin with the video. As I was saying, this video will be an overview of the entire process of how to make an anime series by yourself. I'm going to divide the process into 10 simple steps that will give you the general idea of how I go about making my own anime. And keep in mind that everything that I'm going to talk about in this video is just my process. It's not perfect, and I'm still learning new things as I go. So you are welcome to do everything exactly the same way that I'm doing it, or change everything completely. And if you do have better ways of doing stuff, please write it down in the comments. Also, in order to make this video relatively short, I'm not going to explain about each step with a lot of detail. So if there is any specific part of the process that you will like me to make a video about, please also write it down in the comments below. But now, let's begin with the first step of making your anime. And that is story. Before you can even start to think about making your own anime, you got to have a story that will be worth it for you to keep telling for a long period of time. It really can be whatever you want it to be. The most important thing is that you are passionate about telling it. Let's take Carmilla for example. This is a gothic vampire story that I myself have enjoyed even more than Dracula. And I was seriously surprised to find out that while the story of Dracula was retold and adapted in so many mediums, I couldn't find even one faithful adaptation to the original story by Sheridan Le Fanu. This is why I knew that this is going to be the right project for me. If nobody has made an anime about Carmilla, then I will simply have to do it myself. But now, let's talk about you. If you want your anime to be an adaptation of a book, you must first make sure that the book that you want to adapt is in the public domain. The last thing that you want is for your work to be blocked because of a stupid copyright infringement. Of course, this shouldn't be a problem if you are making up your own story. But if you are new to filmmaking and animation, I would highly recommend you to start by adapting an existing story and to focus most of your efforts on becoming a good storyteller. Either way, after you are set with a story for your anime, it is now time to actually start working on making a show out of it. And the next thing that you'll have to do is pre-production. And this stage is basically just sitting around and planning things. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. How exciting. But believe me that this is important. And especially in the case of low-budget productions. Usually when film and animation productions run into problems, it can cost them a lot of time and money. Two things that you cannot afford to spend if you are making an anime alone. So this is why you really want to do a lot of your problem solving before you even begin. And I would recommend to start this process by dividing your story into chapters. I usually set myself a document with short synopsises for all of the episodes of my show. I would then decide what events I will include, change, or completely leave out from my adaptation. This is of course only if you are adapting a book. But if you are writing your own story, I will recommend to do it even before writing your script to your first episode. After doing that, it will be easier to see exactly how long your show is going to be, and what you will need in order to tell your story. And now it's time to see if making your show is even possible. This is the time to figure out how you will produce the backgrounds, get all of the 3D assets, and design the main characters of your show. And it is important for me to emphasize that nothing in this stage should be finalized. In fact, I highly recommend that you'll improve and finalize all of those things later. But first you should check that what you are planning will be possible for you to achieve. And if not, you will just have to do some rewriting for your show, and find creative solutions to work around your limitations. And I know it's gonna sound funny, but when I was in the middle of this stage of the production of Carmilla, right after I finished creating the first designs of the main characters, I actually went online and tried to find 3D animated horses for the show, just because I knew that I will have to have them for episode 2. And thanks to that, when the time came to actually animate this particular scene, I was already prepared for it, and I knew exactly how to do it. So yeah, I highly recommend to invest particularly in this part of the production, because most likely it will pay off later. And now, after you've finished preparing things for the rest of your show, it is finally time to make the first episode. And all of the next stages of my process will be relevant to individual episodes. Of course, in the case of actual anime studios, all of the episodes of their shows are usually being produced all at the same time. But if you are making an anime alone, I would recommend to tackle this colossal work one episode at a time. This way you'll have something to show to people early on, and it will actually keep you motivated to continue to work on the rest of your show. But now, let's continue with the next stage of production, which is Making a video board. Usually, when big studios are tackling this part of their production, they are hiring a lot of special artists that will draw elaborate storyboards that will represent each shot of the final product. This is very important to communicate the vision of the director with a lot of different compartments, and it helps to create a more unified vision between everyone working on the project. And this is why, if you're making an anime by yourself, I would recommend to keep this part as simple as you can. Since you are working alone, the only person who will see your storyboard is you. This is why in the past I used to draw simple storyboards with stick figures, but I think I have found an even better method with Carmilla. And my new method is to simply go to Google and search for pictures that will represent the shots that I want for the episode. And I will then simply place them in on a timeline in my editing software and use them as placeholders for the final animations. And voila! You have a video board. It's simple, fast, and eventually nobody is going to see it but you, so you shouldn't spend extra time and energy on it if you can avoid it. And if you want an example, here is the video board version of the prologue of the first episode of Carmilla. So yeah. After you'll finish the video board, you'll be ready to get to the next stage, which is voice production. In this stage, you will have to generate all of the voices of the characters in your episode. And specifically with Carmilla, I actually had a lot of luck. Because I actually was able to find an audiobook recording of Carmilla that is in the public domain. And because I've loved the performance of the narrator so much, I've decided to cast her as Laura, and also as Carmilla. And it is her name that you see on the screen near the end of the title sequence of each episode. Of course, this is a very specific case that will probably not be relevant to most of you. But lucky for you, I do have another method to generate voices for your anime. And not only did I use it to generate all of the other characters of my show, but I am actually using it to generate my voice for this video. And this amazing technology is called text-to-speech. For my videos, I'm using a free software called Clipchamp, where I can access its text-to-speech function and type whatever I want my characters to say.
I'm so edgy. And so deep.
Then I can simply generate my audio files, export it, and bring it back to the timeline of my video board. I will then repeat this process for each of my characters until I'll get a pretty rough animatic of the episode. And this leads me to my next step. Creating an animatic. Now that I have my temporary visuals, and have generated all of the voices of the characters, it is time to work on the sound design for the episode. In this stage, I would go online and find all of the sound effects and music tracks that I will need. My favorite service to use for my videos is Envato Elements. Unfortunately, it is a paid service. But you can easily find online a lot of other free alternatives. I personally use royalty-free sound effects from freesound.org and a lot of music tracks from the audio library of YouTube's Creator Studio. And after placing all of these elements in your timeline, you will basically get the full episode with temporary visuals. Or in other words, an animatic. And now, it is finally time to start working on the final look of the show. And I personally like to start with the backgrounds. In order to generate the background art for Carmilla, I've decided to use screenshots and recordings of a game called Gmod. This is basically a physics sandbox, which was developed by Facepunch Studios, and it is running on the source game engine by Valve. I think it is a pretty good option for background art generation for YouTube videos, because Facepunch gives you full permission to use Gmod footage however you want. I will also leave a link in the description for their website page about their legal guidelines and relations towards fan content, so you can go and check it for yourself. And in case you don't want to purchase Gmod just to generate backgrounds for YouTube videos, you can also download Source Filmmaker for free. I think it will give you far less options with maps and backgrounds, but you can start with this software for free and see if this method of background art generation is even working for you. So now in Gmod, you can open the game map that you want to capture for your anime. And you can use the built-in camera tool to capture images from different angles. Then you can locate and use these images as the final backgrounds for your show. So after replacing all of the placeholder images of your animatic with the final background images, it is time to create all of the characters. I already mentioned before that I like to create all of the main characters at a much earlier stage, but now is actually the last chance to finalizing their designs, fix possible bugs and exporting them to a usable format. I will also now create all of the secondary characters and get everything ready for animation. And the software that I'm using to do all of this is called Vroid Studio. This is basically a free software that you can use to create 3D avatars for YouTube videos. It is very simple to use, and you can find a lot of tutorials online about how to use it. And finally, it will let you export a fully rigged 3D anime character that you can use in any animation software that supports the VRM format. And now it's time to get to the part that you were all been waiting for. Animation. After finishing creating your VRM characters, you will have a lot of different softwares that you can use in order to animate them. And the truth is that I was actually using 3 different softwares to animate the first 2 episodes of Carmilla. At this moment, I'm actually considering trying a different method to animate episode 3, and if it will turn out to be a better method, I will make an entire video about it in the future. So make sure to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss it. But for now, let's talk about my current method. The main software that I am using in order to animate my characters is called VC Face. This is basically a free VTubing software that lets you control your VRM models using your web camera. I chose this one specifically because it also allows you to import audio files into the software and it then generates the lip sync animations automatically.
I'm so edgy. And so deep.
And if your entire anime was made using close-up shots, you would be pretty much good to go. But I'm willing to bet that this isn't the case for you, and you will probably need to add body movements to your characters too. And in order to do that, I've actually linked VC Face with a different software called VRM Posing Desktop. And although this is a paid software, I highly recommend it, because it is very easy to use, cheap, and you can download it with no problem from Steam. This software lets you pose your VRM models and then you can toggle your poses by pressing different keys on your keyboard. Then, the software automatically generates all of the in-between frames when you are switching between your poses. In other words, it lets you generate very simple 3D animations, where each pose basically acts as a keyframe in your animation. And then you can broadcast the data directly to VC Face. And voila! You have a 3D character with lip sync, different expressions, and full body animations. And now, after you've finished preparing your animation, it is time to finally record it. And I'm actually doing it using a free screen recorder called OBS. This software works very well with VC Face, and it is very easy to capture videos directly from it.
I'm so edgy. And so deep.
And after you've finished recording all of your animations, you can bring them into your editing software and place them above your background layers. I'm always recording my animations with a green background, so I can remove it in my editing software and see the background layers too. And now you basically have a fully animated and voiced episode. And all you have left to do now is to take care of the visual effects and color grading of the episode. In this stage, I usually add the final animated titles, camera movements, and all of the visual effects for the episode. I'm doing all of that inside my editing software, which is Adobe Premiere. And unfortunately, Premiere is a paid software, but you can actually do almost everything that I'm doing there with Clipchamp for free. So anyway, now all you need to do is to add a simple bloom filter on top of it all. And maybe another layer on top of that, or you can add a simple color grade or another filter of your choice. And that's it. You just finished the first episode of your show.
I'm so edgy. And so deep.
Now, all you have to do is to render the video and to upload it to YouTube. And that's it. This is my entire process of making an anime from start to finish. So if you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment below. See you later.